said, really?
Yeah.
We got some other good stuff, too. Our number, 865-243-TALK, 243-8255. We were talking a little bit at the end of last hour about Christina Graham. And Christina is... she's a teacher here in Knox County. Apparently she was non-renewed the other week. Basically, she just was told she didn't have a job next year. Her tests her evaluation scores were all good. We're finding out from parents and students she was much loved. She was considered a very good teacher. But here's the thing: she spoke out. She spoke out against Sat 10 testing. Apparently, one of the vocal people that spoke out about testing, saying it just wasn't necessary, wasn't right, wasn't appropriate. And oddly enough, she's just non-renewed. Don't have a job for you next year. Thanks. Well, we'll tell you what. She was able to call in with us this morning. Good morning, Christina Graham. Welcome to the Rude Awakening.
Good morning.
We appreciate you spending a little bit of your time with us this morning to share your story. So, let's just hear the story from you, since we've heard it from a lot of different places and a lot of different people. How long have you been a teacher here in Knox County Schools?
I have been a teacher for 3 years in Knox County.
What grade level are you teaching?
Kindergarten,
Okay.
and I taught all 3 years at the same school in kindergarten.
Okay. And end of the school year this past couple months, and what happened?
Well, as you know, I was non-renewed. I wasn't, I asked what I could have done differently, what do I need to improve to make me a better teacher, and unfortunately I wasn't given an answer. So I don't know why I was non-renewed. I had good evaluation scores all 3 years, and I improved every year. I was very active in the community. I've been to, board meetings, community sessions hosted by Knox County. Like you said, I've spoken at a few Knox County meetings, spent my spring break in Nashville talking to legislators about educational issues such as vouchers. I can't think of anything that I could have done differently. I can't think of anything that I've done wrong as a teacher. I may not have agreed with some of the things, the Sat 10 test, for instance, but I still administered it. Yeah. I still did exactly what I was supposed to do. Yeah, I did question it, but I still did exactly what I was supposed to do.
Yeah. I know you've stopped short of saying that you don't think you were renewed because of retaliation, but hearing your story and hearing other people tell the story and everything else that's going on, it seems very clear to me that you were basically pushed out because, well, the one thing you did wrong was that you spoke up and said, hey, I don't think I don't think this test is right for or appropriate for my kids to be taking. To me, it seems like you were shoved out because you spoke up in defense of your students that you're teaching. Do you think that's a fair assessment?
Well, I can't say that's the reason, because clearly I was given no reason at all. Mm-hmm. But that is the only thing I have been, talked to about after my school board speech addressing the Sat 10. I was called into the office and presented a paper saying that some of the things I had said at the school board meeting wasn't accurate. So I did, I was given the opportunity to write a rebuttal, which I still feel like everything I said was accurate. Mm-hmm. I did write a rebuttal. It wasn't, I was told it wasn't disciplinary. I was just an ambassador for Knox County Schools, and anything I said in a public forum had to be accurate. So it was kind of, dropped after then. So I didn't think anything else of it.
What part of your speech did they find problems with accuracy on?
It was kind of, it was a little nitpicky. For example, one of them, one of the bullets said that I had said that kindergartners have to know different genres, and they said that they don't have to know different genres, that we teach different story types. So it was just, story types and genres. Okay, same thing.
Last time I checked, a genre of a story is what type of story it is. Genre falls into, say, if you look at a genre of like a television show, you can have comedies, you can have dramas, you can have sports, you can have all different genre is a type, right?
Right.
So, but they
it was
said
just-
because you said genre and not story type, that was incorrect.
Right. So it was a lot of vocabulary. You know, what I said, instead of saying this word, I may have said a different word. Like I said, I wrote a rebuttal, and to my knowledge, not in my personnel file. I was told it wouldn't be put in my personnel file. It was just communication.
Wait a minute, you had to write a rebuttal to whom? And who was it? Now, if you made a public statement, they wanted you
Right.
to issue a written rebuttal, but they never turned around and reissued that rebuttal in a public forum, did they?
No.
They just
It
wanted you
was-
to write one out for their files.
Right, because I had to sign, you know, it's a professional communication record. So I did have to sign stating that we had this conversation, and they told me that if I wanted to write a rebuttal concerning anything, you know, that was stated or listed on the professional communication record, I could, and it would be attached. But like I said, I don't know where it is. I have a copy of it, but I don't know where the other copy is.
Why didn't they just go ahead and have you write, "I will not stand up and say bad things about the school board anymore" 100 times on a chalkboard? Because that makes about as much sense.
The way I see it, I didn't even say anything bad about the school board. It had nothing to do with the school board.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't go to the school board meeting and speak to say bad things about the school board. I went because I thought that was the right thing for me to do as a teacher, to advocate for my kids. That's why I went.
The sad thing is and this makes me, I didn't know about the rebuttal thing. The rebuttal thing makes me angry because it sounds like nothing more than a power ploy. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put you in your place. We're going to go ahead and dress you down. And by the way, you go ahead, and if you want to, hint, hint, wink, wink, you can write a rebuttal to us. So then we can look at it and go, see, there you go. We got her to go ahead and come back and apologize for something that she had no need to apologize for, and fix whatever she needed to, we felt she needed to fix. There really was, nitpicking different words used. It's ridiculous because it sounds like they took it then and went, okay, here we go. They may as well just gone ahead in front of you and just crumpled it up and threw it in the trash, just to go ahead and put the icing on the cake. Because that makes me really angry. That makes me really, really angry.
Yeah, it does me as well. Christina, this is Trey Darbone. Real quickly, the request that you got to write the rebuttal to make the corrections they felt needed to be made, was that from a building level administrator, from the central office administration, or from the board itself?
I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know who called the meeting. Of course, my principal was in there, but there was also an elementary supervisor from Knox County who was in there as well. So I don't know. I don't know who who decided to the professional communication record. But like I said, I have no clue. I don't know where that came from.
Principal?
Yes.
But there was no indication that might go to that elementary supervisor from the county.
I did send it to the elementary supervisor as well.
Okay, so they both received a copy of it.
Right. But I didn't hear anything back from it. And like I said, I thought it was, after that, I thought it was dropped, and I hadn't heard anything else from it. And I'm not saying that this is why I was non-renewed. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that this is the only issue I've been talked to about, and it wasn't, like I said before, my scores were fine. I've never had a parent complaint. I've never been written up. I don't know what else, I don't know what to think at this point.
Do you know offhand, without naming anybody, just a simple yes or no, do you know offhand of any of your coworkers who may have had either some evaluation issues or maybe some lower scores or maybe had some complaints or some problems who, may have worked the same amount of time you have who were renewed for their positions?
I'm not quite sure because we don't usually talk about evaluation scores. It's kind of one of those things, we can talk about it, but people aren't really that comfortable talking about it.
Oh,
so
sure.
I'm not quite sure.
Sure. Or do you know of any other teachers that have been there the same amount of time that may have had a parent complaint or some sort of issue that again were around the same amount of time you've been there that were renewed without any problem whatsoever?
I'm sure that there were some. I'm not sure. I have no clue.
Sure. No, and I guess I'm trying to make some sense out of something that seems like it makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. It really doesn't. And here's the last question I have for you. And again, I appreciate you calling in this morning and
no
sharing
problem.
some of your story with us. Given all this, okay, I mean, here you are. You were a kindergarten teacher for the past 3 years, Knox County schools. Your evaluation scores were good. They were improved every year that you had them. At this point in time, with everything that's happened, if they turned around and said, okay, you can come back to work next year at the exact same place for the Knox County school system, would you go back?
Yes.
Why?
Because I do not, I have never worked a day for Knox County schools. Technically, yes, but every day I'm in that classroom, I'm working for those kids. I'm not working, of course I do what I'm told, but my main focus is those kids. That's who I'm working for. So, I mean, I don't know of anything else that I would rather do than teach. That's what I've always wanted to do. That's all I want to do. I didn't ask for any of this. I didn't ask to be on the radio. I didn't ask to be on the news. I didn't ask for all of these posts of support. I didn't ask for everybody to change my picture or change their picture to me on Facebook. I didn't want, any of this. It was kind of just thrown upon me.
Yeah.
And all I want to do is teach. That is all I want to do.
I'm incensed right now. I am so angry right now because here's somebody, they will put up with however much junk they got to put up with just because of the simple fact that you have to go back and teach, and you obviously you care about your students, you care about these families that you're working with, you care about these kids you're working with, and it's worth any price just to go back and be able to teach them. And Christina, I'm first of all, thank you for doing what you do. Teachers don't get enough appreciation and gratitude from anybody these days. But as a parent, not even in the same school district, thank you for being a teacher. Thank you for having the courage and conviction to be a teacher and for wanting to help kids. And I'm sorry that you're being pushed through this, because just talking to you for this little bit of time, you deserve so much more than that. So thank you, and I apologize you're being pushed through this, because it's not right. It's not right in any sense of any way whatsoever. It is not right, and I think you're being retaliated against. You're being made an example of, to show people that if they stand up and speak in defense of their kids and in defense of education, that's apparently the worst thing that you can do as a teacher, which just absolutely blows my mind. It absolutely blows my mind. So if people want to help, or if people want to help you, what's the best thing they can do?
At this point, they can write emails to the board. This goes, like you said, this goes way beyond me. I'm not the only one who is non-renewed with good scores. So this goes way beyond me. And if it was, for whatever reason, this solidifies the fear in Knox County that you can be let go for whatever reason. Like, they don't have to let you know. Yeah. So, you can write your school board representative, write the superintendent, come to the board meeting tonight. I know there's a meeting tonight at the city-county building at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock. And I will be there. I'm sure that there will be other community supporters as well. I would love to have, all the support I could get.
Yeah. Christina, again, thank you very much, and thank you for doing what you do. And I know you've, in 3 years, you've affected the lives of a lot of kids. That's all going to the positive, and hopefully we'll be able to continue this story for you. But again, thank you very much, and you have a wonderful day. And hopefully there'll be a lot of people out there tonight to help support you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Thanks, Christina Graham there. can't tell you how upset I am right now. I'm so... And the thing is, it's not even Christina's whole story. The whole story upsets me. Okay. Again, just to clarify, Jeff had texted in. And Jeff, I understand because some people out there going, well, she spoke out against her employer. She didn't.
Nope.
In fact, she has been very conscious not to speak out against her employer, even going so far as not to say that they retaliated against her or that they've done anything. She hasn't even said they've done anything wrong. She just says she wants her job back. And that she asked how she can prove and wasn't even told anything. And the only thing that she spoke against was the SAT-10 test because they were in a school board meeting, a public forum open meeting, talking about testing. They were trying to decide, they were getting ready for a vote on, looking at the testing. That's what they did last night. They were looking at testing. And she, as a kindergarten teacher, stood up and said, this is some of the things we do. And she spoke out against the SAT-10 test.
That is not speaking out against your employer.
No, she was giving them the information they were requesting people give them. She fulfilled their request for information. And because it didn't match up with district policy, that we give these tests and you just don't say anything about them. And again, the thing that upsets me the most is then this idea of, okay, well, you need to go ahead and suggest to her that she write a retraction.
I didn't get that at all. I don't understand.
And then don't
the
even
reasoning
file it.
behind that.
I mean, that whole thing is just a power play.
Yeah, it is.
Look what we can do. We're going to make you do it. Seriously, and it got up to a point where, and I asked this to her. I mean, the same thing would have been, here, just go here and write on this chalkboard 100 times. I will not say bad things about the SAT-10 test.
Yep.
Write that 100 times, then I'm going to erase it in front of you, just to show you what I can do to you.
It seemed purposely petty.
It was very petty. And unfortunately, this administration and a lot of what happens with Knox County schools, especially with people higher up in the school system, has this air of pettiness about it, and it has had for several years now. This air of pettiness. This little nitpicky, to tell someone, well, you use the word genre, and we say story type. Okay, if you're an educator and you don't know that the word type and genre, when related to literature, is the same thing, then you need to go back to educator's school because there's something wrong there. Merriam-Webster defines genre, noun, a category or artistic, musical, or literary composition characterized by a particular style, form, or content. 2, kind or sort, or a particular type or category of literature or art. Genre, type, genre. Same thing. That's like saying, Trey, you walked in this morning and you said hello to Terry. You should have said hi. That would be the correct way.
Right.
But you said hello.
Yep. Sorry, Jerry. No, you're exactly right. It's that petty.
It is.
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We're going to say jump. You just say how high. That's all you're allowed to answer back. I say jump. You say how high. That's all you're allowed to answer back. Oh, this pisses me off. 865-243-TALK, 243-8255. Lauren Hobson, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Hi. I'm angry.
Me too. I'm really angry. And I'll tell you what, here's the only problem I have with what Christina said earlier. She's way too modest. Not only is she a teacher who cares about her kids, and that's the reason that she works for kids. I mean, she's done stuff all across Knox County for kids that she doesn't even work with. Last year when the TSA students were coming back from a competition at 10 o'clock at night, she and a couple other teachers took cookies to them. Out, I think they actually came back to the mall or something is where the buses came back to, brought them out there to congratulate them. A couple weekends ago, she and I and several other teachers from Knox County and KCA had done a community cleanup for Fulton High School. We went out on a Saturday morning, beautiful day. A lot of people are at the lake. We're there picking up trash. Christina is picking up trash for a school she doesn't even work for.
Yeah.
You know, she spent her spring break going to Civication in Nashville, which is where a lot of teachers across the state go and speak to legislators about these exact same issues and try to influence some policy to make our schools better. Yeah. She found out through talking with a friend of ours about some of the problems with dyslexia and how a lot of students are underdiagnosed with that. And so on her own time, she decided to go to a workshop to learn about this stuff, using her own money to pay for books and materials to learn more about this so that she can help the students in her class. I would think this is exactly the kind of teacher that Knox County would want to have in their buildings. She's a third-year teacher. She only has room to improve from there.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what she would be like 10 or 15 years from now if Knox County decided to hold on to her.
Well, apparently she's not the type of teacher they want because, A, she, I guess, cares too much for her students, and B, uses her brain too much. So that's not,
yeah.
That's not what she wants.
And again, the guy, and I think he's probably emailed in a couple times. I think he tends to do it after I speak to you all about, if I spoke out against my employer, I would expect to have repercussions. And like you said, first of all, she didn't speak out against her employer. Mm-hmm. She spoke out about practices in our classrooms that are not appropriate for our kids, giving them the information they need. It wasn't just about the SAT-10, but other things that kindergartners are expected to do that are developmentally inappropriate. And I would also say to him, just because he should expect repercussions from his employer, does that make it right from anybody? We're not talking just about teachers. Shouldn't anybody in a job have the right to question something when it's not the best practice?
Well, yeah, everybody has that right.
Job you have.
I mean, everybody has that right to stand up and say, look, this is everyone has the right to say that. And again, your employer has every right then to say, well, we're going to go ahead and take these actions. But the problem is, and you look at a case like this, at least in a privately owned company, then somebody has the right to turn around and sue and say, look, I think I was fired illegally. It was not correct. She has no right. She has nothing left. She can't go back and turn around and say, we're going to go ahead and fight this.
And right now her dilemma is, trying to apply for teaching jobs outside of Knox County. One of the first things they have on the applications now is, have you ever been non-renewed by a school system? And she's going to have to check yes, and she's going to have to hope that before they just toss her resume in a pile with people they're not even going to interview, that they'll at least ask her what she knows about this, so that she can say, I have no idea why I was non-renewed. They wouldn't tell me.
So basically,
the HR person stood in the office and said, your principal has decided not to disclose that fact, and that's her right.
So basically, this non-renewal with her is almost, they've basically given her this scarlet letter that's now on her resume for all time, yeah?
Possibly, and that's one of the reasons, Fox News wanted to interview her and talked with her on the phone, and because she wasn't willing to just come out and say, hey, this is retaliation, they pulled back from it, but she knew she couldn't legally say that because they had not given her a reason. All she can say is, this is who I am, this is what I've done, and you decide what happened, because she can't legally say that, and I wish that they had gone ahead and put her on, because then she could have talked about, this is what happens to teachers who have no due process. And I think one of your other emails was about, where's the union support? Well, in less than a month, I will be the Knox County Education Association president. And I would like to think that I could do everything possible for her, but the truth is, with a teacher who has not attained tenure, and because our tenure laws have become so much more strict, there is no due process. That's all tenure is. If they want to non-renew her for absolutely no reason, they don't have to give her a reason.
Sure.
She's stuck.
And for a lot of people that understand this, tenure for teachers doesn't mean you automatically have a job for life. It just says that if you are let go, you now have the ability for due process. You can then come back and say, hey, and question why it was done and go to court if necessary. But that doesn't automatically give you a job for life.
And last year on Channel 10, the representative from HR that they interviewed for Christina's story said they can non-renew you for a reason or for no reason, as long as it's not an illegal reason. Well, if they don't tell you what the reason is, how do you know if it's illegal or not? How do you know if you have grounds to file any kind of grievance or to fight it with union representation if you're able to have that That just seemed kind of absurd to me.
I just this whole thing is just ridiculous, and then the simple fact, and all this, I mean, the whole situation is ridiculous. And I know I try to get her to say that whether she thought it was, and she wouldn't even say it here this morning. And to me, it looks like it's complete retaliation. She's being made an example of. She's being put out there as here's the example of what happens if you stand up and say anything, if you stand up and say the test is not right, if you stand up and say some of the practices for your students aren't right, this is what path you're going down. But she wouldn't even say that. And then to top that off, for me to find out now this morning that after she spoke at that meeting, it was then encouraged that she write a retraction, which was then basically, I guess, just tossed somewhere or put on somebody's desk and nothing happened. That to me is the ultimate and just absolute petty idiocy right there.
Yeah, it's standard procedure. Anytime you're called in and you have to sign a paper for any kind of write-up, whether it's disciplinary or a communication record or otherwise, they tell you that you have the opportunity to write a rebuttal. A lot of teachers are even afraid to do that because they're afraid if they continue to fight it, it will just get worse. But I would recommend that they always do that, always make sure that it is clearly written on there so that none of the attachments get lost in the file. But, that's standard procedure, but it kind of just adds salt to the wound, and here she is, speaking about these practices, and finally a year later we had this meeting last night to assess the assessments, which is what she was talking about a year ago.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of amazing the situation that we're in right now. And a week ago, a lot of people at her school were very upset. There was a Facebook group that was created that has over 100 people in it, and teachers and parents were going to come and speak in support of her this week at the meetings. Since then, there's been some comments from teachers and parents that are afraid themselves of reprisals if they come and speak in support of her. One parent in particular, her son is applying to be at the STEM Academy next year and decided not to speak for fear that he would not be accepted. That's ridiculous. When you have that kind of fear about standing up for a teacher of the caliber of Christina Graham, that's a real eye-opener to what's going on in our school system.
Hey, Lauren, how long have you and I been talking about this stuff? It's been going on for about almost 3 years now.
Almost 2 years, almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years. And at the end of 2 years, close to 2 years now, we are still right back at the exact same place we were to begin with. It seemed like there were some changes. There was the teacher advisory board that was put in place. There was this talk of wanting to build bridges, and the last time Dr. McIntyre was on the show with us, he's saying he thought that communication lines were opening up and things were starting to patch up better. We're back now to we're going to go ahead and threaten you. We're going to go ahead and make sure that you live as a teacher within an air of suspicion and fear, so that you don't ever stand up and do anything out of line.
And ironically, the other night at the work session, a group of teachers and administrators had stood up to speak in favor of the school system paying $15,000 for professional development for their middle school, which may very well be worth every cent. I don't know. And a particular school board member praised them for their bravery at coming to speak before the board. The thing is, that item on the agenda was recommended by the superintendent. And I'm sorry, but I guess if you're afraid of public speaking, and it does take a little bit of courage to get up and say anything in front of the school board. But when you're going to talk about something the superintendent wants, that really doesn't take an inordinate amount of courage.
No, we talked about
every teacher that has stood up and questioned something has never been afforded that courtesy or never been praised for their courage.
Well, you're called on the carpet. In fact, now we're seeing school board members do it to each other, saying, "Well, you're just turning this into a personal attack against Dr. McIntyre, and you're doing this, you're doing that." And we talked about that $15,000 the other day. It's 3 days, $5,000 a day.
Yep.
For this principal to come and speak. I don't. In 2 years we've done nothing except take steps backward now, it seems. It seems we've taken a few small steps forward, but we're right back as far as how they deal with teachers. We're right back at square one again.
Well, the few steps that we have taken forward is because of the voters.
Yeah.
We have been able to change some seats on the school board, and with the elections coming up again next year, I hope that continues to happen. They're going to have to, at some point, get their heads out of the sand and realize that we're not making this stuff up, and that if they want to keep their seat, they're going to have to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right now we have a superintendent who, because of trust issues, is not going to get one more penny of money out of the county commission or the mayor because they don't trust where the money is going. We have, renovation projects that have been left unfinished with no plans to finish them, and yet we spent all this money on them. And the commission sees things like that. And so you have a superintendent that's virtually rendered ineffective when it comes to getting things for the school system that we might actually need, because there's no trust there that he's going to use the money where it's supposed to go.
Unreal. Lauren, well, thank you very much tonight. Of course, school board meeting, 5 o'clock, AJ building.
Everybody come out and wear red.
There you go.
Red for Ed.
People need to get there and support. Lauren, we appreciate your time, and best of luck this evening, all right?
Well, we'll need all the luck we can get, and we need the community support, and we need you guys to keep talking about it. That's why we've been able to fight this long.
Thank you, Lauren.
Really
We appreciate it. You have a good day, all right?
Thanks, you too.
Bye.